the thing is with the ecosystem is you will find that a lot of times definitely there is a crossover, and what people search on Google will most likely search on social media as well. But yeah, the keywords might differ slightly between platform to another, but in general, there's lots of crossover of trends and themes. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to be, so as I said, today we're going to be looking at organic search. And the key takeaways of today's session will be what drives traffic to your website, how to generate the traffic to websites, and what's the key or what is the process to driving traffic, as well as we will look at some of the tools we use and that are free tools that can help us improve our organic search and traffic. And at the end of the day, if you don't analyze to understand how people came to your website and how to what were the top content and such, it will be very difficult to improve and know what you're doing right and what you're not doing right. Whoever joined us now, hello, and you can drop us a comment to tell us about what you're interested, why you're interested in organic search. We just started and we're talking about, we just talked about key takeaways. But this is a follow-up session actually from our previous session about the ecosystem of digital marketing. And the ecosystem is basically the environment or the places where touch points occur with your business. And these are all digital because I'm only talking about digital marketing today. Right, so this is a glance over what was discussed in the previous session, but in general, the environment have different elements, and these are all digital. And the digital assets that you own, it can be a website or an app, or it can be your email newsletter or an email that you use for customer service that have the links that people can click to go to your website. You have the social media. You mainly work with primary channels and then secondary channels, and where to put your focus. And what we're talking about today is organic search, mainly SEO. This is what we will cover today. And then you have paid media and third-party elements. But let's start digging into what drives organic traffic to your website. If you go to your Google Analytics every month, these are the top traffic sources that you will see in your Google Analytics. So, and the top one, and it's the biggest driver to your website, is actually organic search. In most cases, this is what you see if your business creates and produces content regularly and frequently. So with content that you upload to your website, or if you have, even if you don't do it on a weekly or monthly basis, but you have very strong content, or like you've optimized your website for your services or your products and such, you will see that in most cases, and we will see later as we look into Google Analytics, that Google's organic search, which in most cases is Google, is the top driver of your organic search. And then you have direct. And I always say that direct is the best way or best indicator to know the level of awareness that is happening across the digital marketing space. And a lot of times it can be your social media pages. So if you're constantly showing up and your brand is being exposed on social media or through email, and you always mention the name of your business, the name of your website, you will find that a lot of times this is a good indicator that you need to either do more or start doing it, or that it's actually working. So this is what drives traffic directly to your website. When someone looks for lenkakopova.com or searches for the business of Dave. And then you have organic social. So again, organic or email, if you have a newsletter that you constantly get in touch with your email list and your customers or your community, and you're always sending people content with links that will definitely drive traffic to your website. So basically, I would say that the more effort you put to it, likely you will drive traffic from that channel. And if you're putting a lot of effort in a channel, but it's not resulting in traffic, then there is something there that you need to look into and you need to improve. Okay, so these are the top organic drivers to your website. Obviously, we have paid, but I did not put them here because today we're only talking about organic searches. And then we're going to see how to drive organic traffic to your website. And basically, it's content. Your content, you need to create content, and that content can be created in so many different forms. And these forms can be written, can be images, can be collaborations with other people, can be your newsletter that you send on a bi-weekly or weekly or monthly basis, can be videos that you put out there in the digital space, or can be events that you host like today. So most likely that when you read the description in today's event, you will find a link to Cambridge social media, or you'll find a link to my website. So yeah, so blogs and images and collaborations, newsletters, videos, and events basically are all the same thing. You are creating content and you are delivering content online. And with that content, you should always make sure that you are communicating links, and links that could be directing people directly to your main website, so cambridgesocial.media or digitalthania.com, or it can be a link to a specific blog or a link to a specific image, a collaboration between you and another expert. So this is how you start driving traffic to your website. And I'm sure you all know that, but yeah, it's a good reminder that content is the common in any place or touch point that comes that your user come across to. Right, but then we need to look into the process and to drive traffic to your website. And this is something I made just today, which I'm very pleased with, very happy with, but I'm sure no one have heard of it, but you will recognize it. So inspect is the word I made, or the abbreviation, the acronym I made for the process that I think is that you need to basically cross-check every box of those to drive traffic to your website. Initiation, you need to start, don't worry about how to start, where to start. As long as you start, the process will improve from there. But initiation and starting is your beginning. Narration is basically the way you put content, or the format of your content. So narration can be telling your story about your product, about your services, and that's either written or spoken in a podcast or audio, or it can be a video. You need to narrate, you need to write the content, you need to produce, you need to tell the story. Specialty, which I find that specialty is basically your industry, or what you're good at, or what your expertise, and what are the topics that you talk about. And specialty is something that not necessarily niche and very, very refined, but it's what makes you you. So my specialty, digital marketing, perhaps, even though Lenka talks about digital marketing, but Lenka likes to focus on organic marketing, organic social media. So she has a specialty. A client of mine, health coach, they like to, but there are so many life coaches or health coaches, but my clients, for example, focuses on self-care. That's their specialty. And then you have a personality. So your personality, or my personality, the way I'm presenting today, is very much, which will either drive people to my website or repel them from my website, or content related to me. So your personality is the way you narrate your story, it's the way you present yourself, it's the way you film a video, and you can choose the personality that you want, or you can basically just be yourself, which what we are very fan of in this club. And then exposure, and this is basically the distribution that's going to happen for your content, and you need to put it out there. And the more exposure, the better. The more exposure, the more you will achieve the next one, which is the call to action. The call to action is, or also in another way, clarity is, what do you want users to do when seeing your content? What do you want online audiences or customers to do, or action to do, when they are exposed to your content? And last but not least, and this is a very, very important one, which is the technicalities. And unfortunately, we cannot run away from it, and we cannot hide from it. And the technicalities is what you need to, and this is what we're doing today as well, is we're going to look at technicalities, or, you know, like at least briefly mention what kind of technicalities do you need to be doing, so that if you tick all those boxes and you make sure that you initiated, you told your story, you have your personality and specialty, and you put your content out there, and you wrote to people where they should go and what links they should link, there are technicalities. Technicalities can be, for example, if you're writing a social media post, can be hashtags, because hashtags are really important technicalities that could contribute to how many people are going to see that post. Technicalities is social search engine optimization, and SEOs are the technicalities basically of making sure that every page and every blog you put on your website has technicalities behind it. So those technicalities is the metadata, the URL, the meta description, the keywords you use in your blog, and in the content, or on your services, or any product that people will be looking for. So technicalities is very important, is that unfortunately creating content and creating very beautiful design and images and communicating clearly is not necessarily will not necessarily drive traffic to your website, because there are some technicalities that you need to be looking at. Right, so I'm going to stop a little bit here, and before I go, so what do you basically do to write content or produce content? If you can start dropping in the chat box or in the comments, and to tell me what are the things that you do, even Lenka, if you'd like to answer. So what are the things that you do to create content? Do you follow a process? Does it happen organically to you, with you? And what technicalities do you think are important in your business?
I think for me personally, there is a very random, sporadic process, but there is a process. One of the parts of the process is capturing ideas. Because what I found is, when you really want to create interesting content that's relevant, that really comes from your heart and soul and mind and resonates with people, it's not something that you can sit in front of a blank page, or at least I can't in front of a blank page and just come up with it. So the first part of my kind of content creation process always is keep an eye on ideas. Whenever I see a post on social media, I read a blog, I go for a walk, and I have time to process, I have ideas, I always capture notes. And my phone and my notebooks will be filled with random sentences, random talk titles, random quotes or questions that on a regular basis I will go through. I will try to develop them a little more, and then I will look at them and I will contrast them with who is the person I'm actually talking to. So I will then look at them and be like, well, is it something I want to say just for myself to build my brand? Or is it something that really is going to be helpful and important for my customer, for my ideal client, for my prospect? And from there, I do prefer to, when I'm creating content, I have definitely made a decision that written content is my kind of a content. I will not necessarily push myself into doing videos and trying to do all of that. So written content is my choice. But I also found out that I prefer to narrate my blog posts. I will usually use something like Otter.ie or Google Documents with a voice to text transcription. And I will pretty much just talk to myself or pretend I'm talking to a colleague, a friend, a client, and I will tell a story, which I will then edit. And that's my content process.
Yeah, interesting. That's the thing about processes and, marketing your brands. Basically, you need to be doing like content creation, but the process can very much vary between one person and another. And actually, based on what you were saying, it seems like perhaps sometimes you start with the technicalities by searching what actually people are interested in learning about or searching for. So technicalities is not only the technicalities of posting the content, but technicalities can also be one of your first steps, which is understanding what your target audience might be looking for in your content. But let's get to the juicy stuff, which is probably why people are here today, and which is knowing what tools, what free tools specifically they can use that will help them at least hit the target in terms of the keywords and what people usually search for. So one of my favorite, and the one that I actually always start with when I'm regularly creating content or optimizing contents for my clients, which is Google search. I go to Google search and I type whatever the topic or the keyword of whatever we want to talk about. So it's either a general one. So let's say self-care is the general one. But a lot of times you have kind of an idea that I would like to write about something. So for example, if you like to talk about how and help people create their own self-care retreats, you can go to Google search and type how to create or how to do self-care retreats. So two things will happen there. First, your Google search will give you results, but they will also give you that people also ask these questions. And this is, for me, a gem for people who are trying to create content, especially if they don't have paid SEO tools or social listening tools. So these questions basically tell you what people are also asking, and to see that, okay, you're either going to take one of those questions or see like, okay, is my topic relevant? Does it seem relevant to this? What you can also do with those questions is perhaps use them as subheadings in your blog. So if you're writing how to do a self-care retreat, you might start with how to give myself a retreat, write a short topic or short paragraph. And how do you organize a wellness retreat? So perhaps instead of writing a headline, how to do self-care retreat, you might need to change your question a bit, because that's what people usually ask, and so on. So all these is gem that you can actually use in your blog, or you can pick what seems relevant and what doesn't seem relevant. Another thing that you will find in the search results of Google at the bottom is related searches. So it might have one of the keywords that you've used, but different related questions, but kind of different direction of what you perhaps wanted to write, and that could give you ideas for future content. For example, related searches here are beginners in meditation. So perhaps what you could do is, when you write a blog about self-care retreats, is include some meditations for people who might want to start doing meditations in those self-care retreats. Silent retreat, silent meditations. What do you think these can be used for? If anyone could tell us, even when you're watching this replay. But basically, these are also, consider it like your research and development department. So this is a great insight of what can actually be a service or a product you offer. So this is not only about content, but it's also about what people want to know about or want to do or want to learn, or they're searching for because they need it. So another thing you will also be able to do here is that when you click on here, it will keep extending more and more questions that people ask, and it will give you answers to those questions. And those answers are basically blogs that other businesses or other websites have written. So they've answered those questions. But don't let it discourage you and be like, okay, well, someone else have written a blog about this. Why do I need to write it? You need to write it because it's your own exposure, it's your own specialty, and it's your own website. You have also business, you have also services, and the space and the world is big enough for all of you. But why is this important to see what other websites have written? Because obviously Google think that they are good enough to show as answers and to show as websites that serve and answer those questions. So you can use those blogs that are written and that content for inspiration, and to know what are the subheadings in those blogs, what keywords are they using, what is the way they're talking, not to copy it, but to choose your own. But basically finding inspiration in other content is a very good way to get you started. And so please go to Google search and you will start finding lots of information and lots of free insights for your content, whatever it is. By the way, it's not necessarily needs to be a blog, because if someone has answered this question in a blog, you can potentially do a video about it. And the other Google products that I use constantly, and the reason there are two flashes here, because in Google Analytics, you can connect your Google Search Console and Google Tag Manager. This is the technicalities part that I was talking about, that you need the technical part. I'm not going to go into details of Google Search Console and Tag Manager or how to connect them to your website, but if you need help with that, I know a guy. So let me know or reach out if you're looking for someone to connect those to your Google Analytics so that you can find them in one place. So basically your Google Analytics, we will look later how you can understand how people are coming to your website, what driving them, what are the top channels or content, and so on. Then what you need also in terms of free tools that you need to be using to make sure that your website and your pages have the content and the keywords and the technicalities that we were talking about, that will make sure that your website is being exposed and delivered to viewers online, is your content management system. So whatever website you use, for example, personally, I use Wix for my website. I don't drive lots of traffic because I don't really invest so much in it, but at least it's there. It shows my credibility, my specialty. I can even upload it as a CV if I want to, or as a portfolio. We used WordPress, for example, for Cambridge social media, and my clients as well use WordPress. And I have some clients that use Squarespace. And these websites have content management systems that is kind of fairly easy to use to be optimizing your website yourself. If this is way above your skills, I can help you with that. Just let me know. And yeah, so basically you need to be regularly, if you create content regularly, to be using your content management system. If you have no idea what content management system you use, perhaps you want to check with your team. If this is not even in your radar, all you need to do here is just make sure that the team who is handling your website has optimized it for the search engines, because this technicality is absolutely super important. Another tools that I use, and that's really important for search listening, and there are plenty of them out there, but I'm going to talk about two. The first one is free, and it enables you to do 3 searches and understand what people are asking or searching for on the internet 3 times a day. So every day you can do 3 researches I doubt that you're you're creating content every day. So perhaps you can use this tool every day, but to store the ideas that you are getting. And go and explore Answer the Public. And basically what happens there is that once you are searching for a certain keyword or two keywords together, it will give you all the questions and related searches to that keyword. And they will color code them from darker to lighter. And basically the darker it is, the more, which means the more people are searching for it. So this is a super important tool because it either give you direct, like what should your topic be in general, but also what the subheadings in your content should be. And again, this doesn't have to be only written. It can be a carousel, so it can be an image carousel on your social media, or it can be a video that you put on your website and so on. The other one, which is super insightful and perhaps more technical than a lot of people would like, but it's also fairly easy to use. And fortunately, it's paid and it can be quite expensive to purchase it for your website. But if you perhaps work with someone, for example, who does SEO, like me or anyone out there around your business or in your community, if they use SEMrush, they can give you lots of information on it. But if you would like to explore it by yourself, you can set up a free trial and you can insert your website and see how you are compared to your competitors. And you can see, it doesn't give you, obviously the free trial doesn't give you lots of historic data, but it gives you enough information to see what's going on around your website and your domain, what the competitors are doing, what keywords do you have in common, or what keywords are you not using that they are using. And it will also show you the health of your website if you have some issues, some errors. And yeah, I would definitely recommend you to go ahead and start a trial if you haven't. Spend time in it. It's not something that you do on a daily or weekly basis. Perhaps once a month when you want to see like a starting point of where you are right now, and start seeing like, okay, the keywords that you need to be doing, how your domain visibility is, authority, how you compare to competitors. And you can choose some competitors, or you can explore who is actually competing with your website in terms of keywords. All right, next, so analytics. So let's stop for a second here. I see that we have some people joining, but no one, I'm not seeing comments. Like, is there comments, or maybe no one cares? Yes, so Blanca, which of these tools do you actually use, or perhaps you don't, because some people don't?
So definitely when it comes to starting with a new client or starting with a new strategy and getting ideas and building a content plan, I will use a lot of the tools that you mentioned. I do love starting with Google, just going and looking at the overall Google search and see what Google recommends me. Yeah. But then I also like going deeper and geeking out with Answer the Public and getting all the data sheets from there that help me then see more specific questions that we can really look into answering in all the content. Another tool that I do have installed as a Chrome extension, it's Keywords Everywhere. That is kind of an extension.
Oh, yeah.
That, wherever you are on the internet, it's a little plugin that helps you to see what keywords people have used and how this blog post is SEO optimized and how this video is optimized, which again gives me inspiration for what other people are using, what other people are searching, what is performing well, and how we then can adapt it for my clients' strategies.
That's very good, actually. I don't know, it slipped my mind. I actually use it. I use Keyword Everywhere and I use Uber Suggest, and they are super helpful, because when you're on Google search page and you type something, it will show you some of the keywords that they use. But the one that I find very interesting insights is the authority of the website. So the score, basically how good it is and how many visits that website gets. And basically what it means, it's a good indicator that, okay, it means that they do content very well, or they've used the correct keywords. Maybe the readability and the website is very user-friendly. So it definitely shows that, yeah, which websites to choose to take inspiration from. So thank you for mentioning that. I will actually, if anyone wants, by the way, this presentation, they're free. I'm happy to share it, and I will update the tool to add those as well.
And there are tools, two more tools that I kind of use when I've already done the research and now I'm finalizing the potentially content piece, the blog post, to really make sure that it performs the best. There is Block Ideas Generator on HubSpot, where if you're kind of stuck on ideas or you want to see ideas for headlines that really would pop, you can add a couple of keywords and it will give you for free, I think, 5 suggestions for blog post titles. Which sometimes I put a keywords in and I flip through it and I see what headlines would HubSpot, because obviously they also have lots of data and they used artificial intelligence to then create these headlines, which gives me an indication how the headline could be performing, again, SEO wise. And another tool kind of in combination with this, it's the Headline Studio by CoSchedule.
Yeah, I use that.
Because then again, even on a free version, you type a headline, type a blog post title, it gives you a great breakdown of how well it's going to perform, what is the language of it, how it comes across, if it's too common, too basic, too long. And it really helps then again nail down the headline, the subheadline, some of the social media posting, and obviously always using Grammarly to double check spelling, everything. But I love it also for their new-ish feature of the emotional kind of insight, where it then tells you whether your post is optimistic and pessimistic.
And inspiration. Yeah.
How it is, and again, that helps me then potentially change a little bit of the language if it's coming across too negative, or if it's not hitting the emotion.
No. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I hope they don't say to anyone that it's boring, but I definitely got sometimes it says neutral or straightforward. Like, okay, well, thanks for not calling me boring. Grammarly.
Exactly, but it's important to pay attention for me for these details. I want my content to come across in a certain way, and sometimes it could be challenging to get the language right. Sometimes what feels positive and upbeat to me in my head might not come across it in the language. So I find these tools quite helpful to really just add the tip of the iceberg, really improve the final technicalities of getting the content out there and making sure that it has the best chance to perform really well.
Yeah, and like once content is out there, there's nothing to say that you cannot go back and edit or improve it. I've actually, there are a couple of blogs for a client that we had to on a quarterly basis go back to optimize and like change some keywords or like change the description, and happily enough, like we've seen that it actually increased the chances of the blog being seen. We've seen that the engagement has improved on the blogs. So yeah, once content is live, there's nothing to say that you cannot go back and improve it. And the thing is, because something might change. Like I've probably you've also seen it, like how people update one blog from one year to another with a new, like that was 2021 and now it's 2022. So they update the headline with 2022, and then they update some of the things inside the blog because they don't have to write it from scratch. And actually Google might like that because it means that this page have already had traffic before and had some activity. So when you update to improve something, it might even perform better. So
Well, and
definitely,
that's the importance of then looking into analytics. And, you know, I'm not necessarily the person who would always love data and numbers the most, but I love them from the perspective it does tell me a story, and I can really read how people are using the website, what they're getting from it, what they're interested in, what they're not interested in. And as you said, it's not always about reinventing the wheel and creating brand new content all the time. Sometimes you really need to look into what you've already done, how it works, pick up those that really perform well and make sure that they perform even better, and look at those that perform almost really good and give them another chance, and maybe rewrite them a little bit, as you said, update the headline, maybe add a few more links, look at some of the technicalities that you can improve, maybe try to then combine them together. And that's what I love about analytics. It tells me how I can then combine and redirect people from one article to another, how I can put it together or break it down into individual sub blog posts. But saving myself so much time instead of always thinking, oh, new content, more research, new ideas, rather than like, no, let's look at the tried and tested ideas and just do with that.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly what search engine optimization is that something is already out there and you're optimizing it and you're giving it the best chances of being seen and perform well. That's very important. And I just wanted to say hi to Nicole and thank you so much. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to rewatch it. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments and I would be happy to answer them. But let's go to the last, actually not the last part, but basically how to analyze your organic search. And I know not a lot of people like numbers like Lenka, but they know that there is power in them because it tells you the story. And this story will tell you also how you can make decision making in your business or in your marketing, because it will give you insights. Right, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about here is Google Analytics. And in Google Analytics, because we're talking about organic search today, I'm going to focus on just 3 images for today, or 3 information that you can get in Google Analytics. Actually, there's a 4th one, but it's from Google Search Console. But basically, what you want to go to Google Analytics every month to find out if you're constantly updating your website with content. So let's say if you don't write blogs every month, it would still be important for you to go to Google Analytics if you have products, if you have services. So analyzing what's happening on your website, if this is the main place where people can purchase from you, you want to go to Google Analytics. So what is the first thing you're going to look for? You want to know, where did your new users come from this month, for example. So, and these are the channel grouping that I talked about in the first instance, and where traffic comes from. So your website will tell you all the places that are driving traffic to your website wherever a link exists, or so that's either organic search, so for example Google, direct if someone is typing the website, the name of your website, organic social, email if you have newsletter, referral if someone is like including your website or links in their websites. So these are screen grabs from my client's Google Analytics. And basically the dark blue is the current performance and the lighter blue is the previous performance. So I am comparing data to see is actually improving or like the website is improving, content is improving, traffic is improving or not. And we can see luckily that it is improving because we're growing the organic search, the direct search. And again, direct is super important because it's a very good indicator of awareness of your brand. And why I necessarily also think direct is important, especially when you do social media such as Instagram. And let's say Instagram is one of the tools that you really love spending time on and creating content. But if you look here, if we go into organic search, I don't put it necessarily here, but if you go into organic search, it will tell you, sorry, not organic search, organic social. It will tell you which of the social platforms that you are active on are driving traffic to your website, right? So we're not going to talk about, this is not really organic search, but more and more it is becoming, because people are going to the social media platforms to search for your product or business or services or content that you are writing, not necessarily you, but in general. So one thing that I find very interesting with direct, that I noticed that when we increase activity on a platform such as Instagram, because Instagram is not very link click friendly, so you cannot put a link in a post that people click on. But we noticed that even though we didn't increase activity anywhere except Instagram, we noticed that direct traffic is increasing, because constantly in the content we keep mentioning the name of the business, the website, and asking people with a call to action, very clear call to action: visit the website, type this, search this. So we find that the more you are clear with your messaging on platforms such as Instagram, even though people don't have necessarily a link in your post, it might be that you're doing you're performing well and your content is being exposed. So that's why direct might increase in activity. The second thing you're going to look at is not only how people are coming to your website or where they're coming from, but how engaging they are when they come from those traffic sources. So it's very common and predictable, actually. For example, the people who come from organic search and direct will be very engaged with your website. But sometimes if this is not the scenario that's happening, and you actually notice that people are coming to the website but they're not really engaged, or they're typing the website but they're not really engaged, or your organic social is doing really well but like when they come here they're not engaged, and so on. So what this means is that you need to look a little bit deeper to see, okay, what is happening on those pages, which we will look at now, or, you know, what is happening on the website in general that perhaps is letting people not engage as much. So it can be technical issues. Again, technicalities is super important to make sure that your website is running smooth, the user journey is good, your messages are clear, your call to action are clear, people understand what to do on your website when they come to your website. So engaged session, if it's improving or declining, is a good indicator of how the website in general is performing and content is performing. If you see everything is increasing, it means that perhaps you're doing good. Keep doing what you're doing. If you see a lot of them are decreasing, it means that there's something that you need to look into, and look into the technicalities a bit, and you can get someone to help you with that, a web developer or web designer, or someone who can just in general do an assessment about your website. And the third one, which I also really like, and the clients really like to look at, is that, especially if they're creating content regularly, is that which of the content we've written or put in on the website or pages are the top performing ones and which are not. For example, we can definitely see that there is an error here, right? Page not found. So this is an immediate indicator that there is a page or a link that was posted somewhere that does not exist. And this is declining in views or perhaps affecting the health or the authority of your website. But then you see, for example, there is the blog page, there is this specific blog that is improving, keeps getting traffic, and so on. So what does this tell us? That the top content you have is content that is performing well. So there are things that you can do is keep optimizing those pages, write more about the topic, develop the topic, because sometimes one topic can be covered in several blogs. So if you're talking about SEO in one blog as an introduction, and the next one you can talk about the technicalities, and the next one you can talk about the tools, and so on. So every topic you might pick will definitely have different angles of it. And if you see, or sometimes you will find that some in the same category of a topic, some is performing better than the others. That's fine. All you need to do is just make sure that you keep testing and understanding what your customers or target audience is looking for and liking and engaging with. Right, so I'm going to go a bit quickly. So Google Search Console can be linked to your Google Analytics. As I said, it's not linked to mine, or it's actually linked, but as I said, I don't usually for myself do this on a monthly basis. So there are three things here. The first one is queries. So these are the words that actually people typed in Google search, and then my website was delivered to them or was exposed, and this is impressions. And then when they typed this, my website was one of the results, and it got this many impressions. Each page or my website got this many impressions. Then the next thing that I'm going to look at is the clicks. No one clicked on my website, but that's fine. So basically, because these are very low numbers of impressions, so basically you want in the hundreds of impressions and exposure to be able to get kind of a decent click-through rate. But this is super interesting. Like imagine, like if you're writing blogs, you're writing about certain topics, you will see what people actually are searching, the exact keywords that your website was exposed to. So, and then you will see if they're clicking or not. If they're not clicking, perhaps the headline is not interesting, is not interesting enough, is not relevant enough. So for example, if you're seeing that they're typing blog digital marketing and they're seeing your website in the results few thousand times or hundreds of times, but no one is clicking through, perhaps look into giving your page another chance by improving the title of the blog or the page, or perhaps you actually need to add the meta description to give again your blog or your page more chances of being clicked to. Right, so what will you do on a monthly basis to grow your analytics? I always say that digital marketing or analytics or whatever you want to do can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. But specifically, when I go to do website analytics or Google Analytics, I go with these 5 questions, which you've seen 3 or 4 of them. Where did my new users come from? What were my top engaging campaigns? The word campaigns is used similar to, like not necessarily a campaign you're doing, but basically the period of time where you're doing content. Which pages or blogs got the most views? And what were they searching for? So these are the key queries and keywords. And the last one, which is what I was talking about, is that if you're seeing that your content is getting lots of impressions and being exposed a lot, but it's not resulting in clicks, then there's something to improve there. But if you're seeing, for example, one page or like the average of impressions that a page get is 500 impressions, and the click-through rate for those pages that gets 500 impressions is 1.5. It means that this is a bit technical, but basically consider it of like, okay, so in general, how many people need to see my web page to actually click? So if you see that a page is getting hundreds impressions only, And all the ones that are performing a good click-through rates are getting 500 and more. It means that you have a goal here to improve this page that is getting only 100 impressions. So you want to improve this to reach 500 impressions to make sure that it's getting a click-through rate. It might not always work, but it's a good indicator again that if you actually can have a target to improve a page, what is that target? So it's a good benchmarking. And what is the secret to digital marketing success? I'm done, by the way, but the secret to digital marketing success for me, that I have actually gave the answer before, but I'm not going to quiz you today because we're actually at the end of the hour. The secret, in my opinion, is to strategize and socialize and sustain. So start with a strategy or with a plan in mind, keep socializing, keep exposing your content, and sustain that activity and the analytics. And if you have any questions, now is probably the time. You can tell me if there was anything missing that you wanted to learn or you came to find out, but I did not answer your question. If there's anything that you've done for your business that you think was super helpful in terms of putting content out there and getting traffic to your website. And the last thing I would like to know as well is which of these are you not doing or not comfortable with? And what challenges do you have when it comes to driving traffic or creating content that could drive traffic to your websites? And we are done.
Woo! Big round of applause. As always, a lot to take away, a lot of reminders even for myself. And obviously, I'm sure there was lots of wonderful takeaways and tips for our listeners. So whoever is here live with us today, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. Is there anything that you wanted to get out of this session and you were hoping we were going to answer? That please let us know. I see a comment from Dave who says that the tools you mentioned were interesting, some there that he was not aware of. So it's always a good reminder, even if I know all of the tools, sometimes like, oh yeah, I haven't used this tool. Like Uber suggests I haven't used it for a while. So I'm like, oh, maybe next time I need to have a look there, because all these tools will give you slightly different results because they use different algorithms. And it's wonderful to have this variety of insights.
Yeah, and it's also at the same time, like it doesn't have to be as complicated. So if you want to stick with Google Analytics, where it tells you the search queries that people are coming to your website, or how your pages are performing, and you know, like this is all you can do, this is the maximum you can do, it's fine, just do it. But if you're interested in more and want to dig a little deeper and be more helpful and also more proactive when it comes to delivering content, then yeah, there's lots of tools that you can use. But it always helps to get some, you know, like feedback or credibility or review about those tools. So some of the tools we mentioned today, I can repeat them. There's Uber Suggest extension, there's Keyword Everywhere extension, and then you have tools like SEM Rush that you can use on a quarterly basis or yearly or, you know, like monthly basis with, but it's a free trial, so you only have 30 days. And then you have Google Analytics with Google Search Console and Tag Manager. And these are all like, and then you have Google Search Bar for free. Literally, it's just sitting there for free, giving you all the insights that you need to at least optimize your website. And it's definitely happened, and I've used it all the time. So yeah, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Nicola. So I guess we're done for the day. I've shared what I know. If anyone has questions, they can leave them in the comment, or they still have the chance to ask